It is James here from Global Crypto for another edition of Market Analysis, and I'm with
Graeme. Thanks for getting us on again, James.
The man himself. No, all thanks to you for actually being available today. It's great to have you with us. Just before we get started, as always, we do want to say thanks to our sponsors. So very special thanks to Paxful. Paxful are champions, and so a huge thanks to the team at Paxful, specifically Modipe, and the rest of the team there. You can check them out in the description if you'd like to go and visit them. If you want to make some passive income, they have a whole bunch of options there as well. If you are familiar with brokering and P2P, then check them out. The link is in the description. All right, Graeme, exciting times indeed here. It's really been a great opportunity to buy the dip. Take us through what you're most excited about.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think things are really heating up, which is why I said we've got to get on a live stream and just show some of the viewers what we're looking at. I'm sharing the wrong screen here. Give me a second.
You can see why the man's so busy there.
Okay, how's that? Can you see my chart?
We can see that indeed.
Okay, great. So yeah, let's start with the big picture. So this is going to give you some context about why I'm so bullish right now. And essentially what we're looking here is that close to the full life cycle or lifespan of Bitcoin itself. So this is taken off Bitstamp. We've got data all the way back to 2012 here. Okay, and essentially what this is highlighting is what's called the market cycles or the Bitcoin cycle. And you can see that we've got a pattern a pricing structure that revolves around the halving periods. So we've got 3 halving periods here. So each black line represents the halving. So for those that don't know, the algorithm of Bitcoin releases X amount of Bitcoin out every day, and every 4 years, give or take, that number is halved. So half the new Bitcoin is now entering the market compared to the previous cycle before the halving took place, essentially. And obviously that has an impact on price, because the more supply that you have of an asset, generally speaking, that's going to be a headwind to the price. So and then vice versa, if something is more scarce, then it becomes more valuable. So here what we've got is a deflationary effect on Bitcoin because there's less and less supply entering the market, and that is bullish or deflationary for the price. So that's just a little bit of background context to paint the picture. But what is really interesting here is that you can see the cycle repeating. And in investing, they say that history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. So we can definitely see some rhythm here. So let me highlight exactly what I mean. So what we can see here is that approximately 400 days, well, exactly 378 days on this occasion for the first cycle was the start of the bull market. Okay, so you had, and generally what you can see is almost a slow accumulation period. And then after the halving, then the real expansive part of the bull market kicks off. And you can see that you've also got like a halfway point in the second half. So almost like 3/4 of the way through, there was this fairly significant sell-off. And then you get your most expensive move of the bull market or of the bull cycle in this last quarter. Okay, so that's how the first market cycle played out, or at least the one around 2012. Then 2016, which many of us remember. So this is a time where I was entering the market. I remember $400 was when I bought my first Bitcoin. So that's almost like a line in the sand. That was the price when I first bought it. So that was this first half of the I'd like to call it the 2017 bull market. That's just
you're making a lot of people very sad when you say that, but it is the reality. I mean, I also remember the first time I bought Bitcoin was about 5,000 Rand. Before Luno was even Luno, it was Bitic. So, I mean, it's amazing to think how far we've come since then. But sorry to interrupt.
I think you beat me there as early adopter there, James, if you got it.
Well, no, I think $400, 5,500 Rand, somewhere around there, very similar.
So yeah, it's interesting. That's where I think quite a lot of the people I know here in South Africa really started to, Bitcoin started to land on their radar around that time.
Yep.
So yeah, this was the start of that bull cycle, slow accumulation. and then the halving occurred, and then we had the famous 2017 bull market. And then you can see I've highlighted these red flags. This was that 3/4 mark sell-off. Okay, and I think the first one we can do the exercise right now was approximately, wow, okay, that was almost a 70% sell-off from top to bottom. 3/4 of the way through. 2017 was a little bit less. Here you had, I think it was around 40 odd percent. Okay, correction. It looks small here because it's a log scale. And yeah, let me fast forward to where we are now. So I think we had a very similar spot today, as where we are potentially at this 3/4 all the way through the market cycle. And the encouraging thing here is that, again, if history rhymes, then we should be expecting the last quarter of the bull market to start to kick off around about now. If we go down onto a shorter time frame chart, you'll see some of those green shoots starting to stick up, which is really encouraging. But essentially what I'm expecting is the most expensive part of the bull cycle that we've had. So we've all got really excited from the move that we've had since the halving, from around $10,000 to where we are today, which is close to a 300% return. Even greater than that when we reached the highs at around $60,000. But I actually think that the best is potentially yet to come, and we can expect that over the next coming months. So obviously I can be wrong, but then the fundamental structure of this bull cycle that we've seen repeat has to fundamentally change. So I'm pretty confident to rely on this structure and the price action around the halvings to take a pretty aggressive stance in my portfolio towards allocating to crypto, given the expectation of the strong moves that I think could potentially come. Yeah, so that's the main driving focus about my bullishness.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a great analysis here. It reminds me a lot of 100 trillion Twitter account, the guy from the Netherlands, of course, the guy who talks about the stock to flow model. And so you've really gone in depth to look at even those days and the length of those cycles, which really does, as you say, it just is a beautiful symphony of rhyming market performance. So, I mean, if you're not looking at that and getting excited, then really you're in the wrong place. Now, Graeme, what about the next couple of weeks? Is it a case of starting to look at some of the altcoins as well, or do you want to just be sitting in Bitcoin? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So let's drill down into a tighter time frame here. So here I've got Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart. So first things first, we need to focus on Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin is looking solid, then we can expand our universe that we are looking at further. But if Bitcoin doesn't play along, and if Bitcoin has a bearish turn, then you can expect your alts to follow suit. So Bitcoin is definitely the guard market, and we're going to take our cue from here. So let's start here. So what we can see here, so this is the consolidation period we had after the large sell-off. And then it was, really I was 50-50 for a long period of time about which direction we were going to go. And we flirted towards the bottom end of this symmetrical triangle type of structure. And we can see we got the contraction of volatility, which I speak about quite a bit. And we did threaten to break through the bottom here. And that would have been really painful, especially for your retail traders, anyone with a bit of leverage. And I thought that was potentially on the cards. But you can see that in the last couple of days, we have moved to the upside, and we're now looking like we're in a much more bullish place. So we've also got this embedded head and shoulders inside this funnel type triangular structure. There's your left shoulder. We've got like a double head, so it's almost like a complex head. Right shoulder. There's your neckline, which was around the 37,000 mark, and we've now broken to the upside there. So we're out of the outside. We've broken to the upside of the inverse head and shoulders, as well as the contraction of the symmetrical triangle. So these are all big boxes that we can be ticking. So I think a break to the downside here is becoming less and less likely. So I think that gives the tick for Bitcoin being in a good place. The next thing I then look at is Bitcoin dominance, because if Bitcoin dominance is looking bearish, so that's Bitcoin losing market share compared to the alts, then that gives me permission to then look at the altcoins. And here again, we're on a 4-hour chart, and there's a big head, well, yeah, a fairly substantial head and shoulders pattern here as well for Bitcoin dominance, with a neckline around about the 43%, 42% area. And for me, this is broken downside. The full target of this head and shoulders will take us all the way down to around 37%. I've got this dotted red line here because this was essentially the historic low of the previous bull market in 2017, where the Bitcoin dominance got to as low as 37. So I definitely don't think it's outside of the realms of possibility that we get to that level, and potentially even lower. You've got to expect now, after a 4-year period, that there's more potential projects to put up their hand this time around than 4 years ago. We got the whole DeFi space, as well as the old dogs, Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin and Neo and a couple of those old names as well. So there's just a bigger pool where money could potentially go. So I don't think it's unrealistic to expect that we actually fall below that 37%. So yeah, that was a long way of answering your question, is to say, now is a great time to be looking to allocate not just to Bitcoin, but to alts as well, purely on the basis of this chart.
And which ones in particular are you most excited about? Are you still shopping around FTX? Are there any others sort of on the Binance Smart Chain, perhaps Pancake Swap, some of those real low cap gems? Or is it just a couple of the big altcoins like your ETH and Polkadot and those kind of coins?
So broadly speaking, I almost feel like I've been through a whole lot of charts of the altcoins, and they're all looking quite similar. They've all got a fairly similar structure to what Bitcoin has got, where they're all looking to break out of that consolidation structure that we've got. So I almost feel like at this stage you're going to have to try quite hard not to make money by picking some of these alts. I know it's very seldom that you say that, but I do think that's where we are. If Bitcoin continues to stay solid, I think across the board you're going to be seeing really nice returns from the alts. Some of at the top of my list, I have to put Ripple at the top of my list, and I don't like it fundamentally as a project. I think I've said that before, but I just can't see Ripple
on a number of occasions. Yes,
I can't see Ripple missing out on this bull market, because if you just do a little bit of digging into how Ripple is structured, they've got tremendous control over the supply of their tokens, because not even half of the tokens are in circulation on exchange, so they can release tokens or withhold tokens when they want. And then you've got the Ripple army on Twitter, and a number of mechanisms they can use to manipulate the demand as well. So I think they really hold a lot of strings about when the Ripple bull market is to start. Obviously, there's that SEC hearing, which could throw cold water if it goes the wrong way on, I think, any plans that they've got. But alternatively, if that's a win, I think Ripple could really, really fly. So you've got to, the right conditions for a truly asymmetric bet. And another way to look at it, James, I know that you've spent your time as a DJ, so you might appreciate this, but if you look at it at like this this market cycle, almost like a wedding playlist. You've got your Bitcoin, which starts, so that's like your classics that everyone loves. So you kick off the wedding playlist with a bit of Bitcoin. Get the guys excited, mass adoption. Get the funds in, and then once everyone's on the dance floor, now you can start to play your more recent techno tracks and something for the young guys. So that was your whole DeFi movement, and you had Uniswap and SushiSwap and Aave and Compound and all of these new kids on the block make a move. And then it was time for the golden oldies to come. So now you're playing your old school classics, and you had Bitcoin Cash running, Bitcoin SV, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic. Even had a turn, and then towards the end of the night, then you play your slow your alternative music at the end. And I think Ripple is probably that. So Ripple is like your closing time song for me. I think that's going to go some point towards the end of the night, but when it does go, I think it's going to go exceptionally hard. So I am looking to get on that. So that was a bit of context about Ripple, but that's how on my watch list. Dogecoin is another one. I got in that quite early. You can see that it's coming off a little bit now. It probably was out the blocks a little bit quicker than the others. So I am in a nice profitable position on Doge, and I'm holding it. So I've got a target for Doge at 51 cents essentially. So I am in on that trade, but maybe not the best one to jump in right now. One that I do like right now, and I've only just entered in, is Matic or Polygon.
Yes, yes.
So what I like about Matic is that there's a very tight squeeze here. Look how tight that squeeze is. So essentially what you're looking for now in your altcoins is something that hasn't run yet and has also got a real nice volatility squeeze. So if you're an investor, again, this doesn't really matter that much. If you're looking to buy something and hold for the next 3 months, 6 months, however long this last quarter of the bull market lasts, then your entry is not particularly important. So then, there's nothing wrong with buying just Ethereum, Binance Coin, ADA, maybe Ripple and some Doge. I don't think you can go too wrong with your large cap coins. If you're looking to get in on some leverage, here your entry is key, and you're looking to get your tight stop loss. So this Matic setup is looking really good to me. So we've got, if you enter at current price with a stop loss, around the 1.67 mark with a target at 2.75, that's going to give you almost a 15-to-1 risk reward ratio payoff essentially on that trade. So this is one that I've also entered in.
Yeah, else? Interesting. A lot of people talking about Polygon at the moment. I mean, obviously our famed Eddie Meek has been talking about it on Twitter. Paul has been charting it. Of course, our analyst over on Telegram, Paul Francis, has been talking a lot about Polygon, which under the ticker code is Matic. Interestingly, I'm intrigued by your risks to reward sitting at 15-to-1. Paul said that he's sitting at a risk to reward of 8-to-1. Has the setup changed a little bit? Or is that just a different approach to how you both analyze the chart?
I think so nothing would have changed fundamentally, I don't think, depending on, I'm not sure when he released his trade idea, but it has been going
over about a week ago. It was about a week ago.
Okay, so there may be something small has changed, but we've only squeezed tighter here. So that's only allowed you to get your stop loss even closer. It depends where he's taking his entry from. He might be taking it from a break. Maybe he's looking to enter a break of this previous high. I've entered at current market level, at market price, which is obviously more attractive, higher risk than entering on a break. But that's how I'm getting my risk reward ratio of almost 15-to-1.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, I think I haven't seen, to be honest, and obviously with this activity, I'm watching a lot of charts at the moment and a lot of people, a lot of activity around the various communities. It's been a long time since I saw this many people looking at one chart. So the three big analysts in our communities, Eddie, yourself, and Paul, all saying Matic is going to pop. If this guy doesn't pop, then I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people there.
At least we all right or we all wrong together.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see.
Paul, Paul was the person that originally put it on my radar, so that's why I have been watching it. It's been close to the top of my watch list because of the squeeze idea. So definitely credit to Paul on that front. But yeah, look, you can't argue with it. It's got a beautiful setup there, and it hasn't run yet. So maybe it'll be one of the late performers. Where a couple of others have gone already. Binance has already done well. Dot has done its thing. Doge, as I mentioned, has done well. So it's not the ideal time to be entering a leverage trade into something that trying to chase a horse that's already bought it.
Absolutely,
is holding back a little bit. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and just another one which is really interesting. So is your DEXs, so your decentralized exchanges. So obviously, Uniswap is the big one there. But and interestingly, if you compare Coinbase to Uniswap, Coinbase now being a listed company on the Nasdaq, and some days Uniswap does more volume than Coinbase. It's just
remarkable, isn't it?
So if you compare those two market caps, there's a big disconnect between those market caps. So
well, I mean, that is the great example. And sorry for interrupting you, but for me, fundamentally. And that's what excites me most about crypto. Obviously the charts and the deflationary option and all that kind of thing, will excite analysts like yourselves. But for me, what excites me is that is the future of finance. Crypto is the future of finance, and that highlights that. The fact that Coinbase, a centralized exchange with institutional backing, it has less volume than a decentralized exchange from anyone in the world wanting to connect to it is just absolutely remarkable. And that's all on the Ethereum chain. We're not even talking about some of the other blockchains that offer the same functionality, you know. So, I mean, that is truly an insight into the future. This is the future of finance right here.
Yeah, there's some incredibly exciting things happening in the DeFi space. Obviously, there's issues on Ethereum network itself to solve, which, yeah, if you've got enough of the smartest guys in the room, I'm putting my money on them finding solutions to the type of problems that they're having.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's only a handful of days where that volume is high on Uniswap, so it's not like it's a consistent thing, but just the fact that they can even challenge, even in limited periods of time, like you said, the might of Coinbase and and everything that they've got going for them is exceptional, I think. Absolutely. So even though Uniswap is, I think it's just outside the top 10 now, so it is by its own accord, a fairly large cap in the digital asset space. I still think there's massive opportunity for growth there. And then, one step further is to look at SushiSwap. So SushiSwap, for good reasons, I think, has a lower market cap, and there's a lot more risks around it. If you followed on Twitter, there was some quite a lot of controversy around how different elements were handled in the community, but they seem to have largely sorted that out. And SushiSwap, it does on occasions, again, close to the same volume as Uniswap. So, and SushiSwap is trading at a fairly significant, well, actually a big discount to Uniswap. So, that's a further way that you can take a more extreme bet with potentially even a bigger payoff on a SushiSwap or even one of the other DEXs. So, that's just a point of interest there of some of the projects that are really exciting. And look, at the same time, I say this, and unfortunately or fortunately, we do go through these big cycles, and I do expect valuations to become overly exaggerated and overly expensive within the next coming months, if we again follow the bull cycle. So it's something that you may want to consider is just managing your entries into these. I think now is a good time, but then potentially having an exit plan. It's not necessarily something you want to hodl for the next year or two. So you do need to be cognizant of some of the volatility, and you don't want to be buying any of these projects, as exciting as they are, at extreme valuations. So that's just something to be mindful as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the next question is, what would be an extreme valuation? A lot of people would have said Bitcoin is an extreme valuation at $60,000, but next year, if it's sitting at $150,000, not so much.
Yeah. So I mean, valuations is a difficult thing to quantify, especially in the crypto space, which again is why I rely on these charts. So these charts, we can see historically, the price action, the different market cycles, and for me, this is still the best way if you can interpret the charts to assist you with that market timing, and provide guidance about is this a good time to enter? Should I be looking to trim down, shift some of the portfolio into stablecoin, etc. So again, back to the beginning of the video, that's the market cycle I'm expected to play out, and that's really the blueprint that's guiding my my allocation into crypto.
Absolutely. Graeme, any other charts before we say goodbye?
No, I think we've covered a fair amount, and just really wanted to highlight some of the opportunities that are on the table right now. So honestly, I really think, and this is not financial advice, but if you have bought into crypto being having value, and you do want to have a portion of your portfolio allocated to crypto, then now is as good a time as any, in my view, to be entering. And if you think that you've missed the boat, we've got a really big pullback, over 50% drawdown. We have recovered a little bit since then, but don't wait potentially until we're back at all-time high to be looking at entering, if you've already made that decision that you do want to get into crypto. So that's really the main message, is that I think now, if you've decided that crypto has a place in your portfolio, then it's worthwhile taking some action.
And I'm going to ask this question, which may be a little out of place, but if you can answer it in the best way that you possibly can, I'd appreciate it. You know, we often say that, and obviously we say that to protect ourselves, right? This is not financial advice. We don't want someone to lose. They put in their life savings into Bitcoin. Bitcoin tanks, they lose their life savings. Then they come after us because we said buy Bitcoin, right? We're not saying that. People need to be very, very careful and allocate a small portion of their portfolios, because if, you know, we always say invest what you can afford to lose if you had to lose it all. But we always say consult a professional, consult an investment professional before going and making these kind of investments. My question to you is, where would someone go? Because the reality is a lot of financial services providers are still so skeptical about crypto. They would say no ways. You know, what are the options for people who want to make responsible decisions?
Yeah, look, yeah, that is a tough question, James.
Putting you on the spot there.
But I think for me, and my personal response would be, there's nothing more powerful than you having that knowledge yourself and educating yourself. You know, so it is invaluable if you can find someone that you can trust and that does have, you know, the necessary skill to give you that financial advice. But first prize is, you know, for you to empower yourself, and you know the resources are there. You've got the internet. Pick your sources wisely. You know, obviously there's a lot of information out there, but if you can, you know, just spend some time finding the right type of sources, then, you know, self-education is the best. And you know, even a small amount of education is better than nothing. You know, because then if you don't have education, you have to fully pass that responsibility of the baton of handling your finances over to someone else. You know, you're always at their mercy. And you will also get more value out of whoever you are consulting with. If you have a little bit of knowledge yourself, you can ask the right questions, you can get the right insight, and you can also provide that direction to your financial advisor or your investment professional that you're dealing with to give you the right guidance. So, yeah, maybe I dodged the question, but I would just highlight that personal development of your own financial expertise is definitely worth it.
Well, I think that's a great answer, though. It really is, and I think it's so important people do their own research, proper research, and just be very careful about who they choose to take advice from on the internet as well. Graeme, thanks so much. That's all we have time for today. It's just been amazing. That chart is fantastic. Thanks, if you could email me a nice high-res version of that chart. We'll put it up on the website, which, by the way, to those of you watching, we've had a little bit of hosting issues. Unfortunately, our host provider upgraded their PHP databases, which impacted our WordPress hosting. So apologies if you've been on the website and wondering what's been happening. Mark has been working his backside off to make it all work. But yeah, that's it for this week's analysis. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Graeme, we so appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. A reminder, this episode proudly sponsored by Paxful. You want to earn passive income, become a P2P Bitcoin broker, hit the link in the description below and support global crypto by clicking on that link. That'll be really helpful. Graeme, thank you so much.
Excellent. Thanks, James. And,
all right, everyone.
Playing over the weekend, I think it has the potential to be a good one.
I think you're right. We're going to be watching it very carefully. All right, everyone. Until the next edition, cheers.
Cheers for now.